I've been looking into ways of converting BGGR FITS files into RGGB and vice versa. And I think I've found a way of doing it using PixInsight, and that's really simple. Let's have a look at what files we've got to work with. Here I've got 10 files. These are a subset of a much bigger folder containing over 1,000 FITS files for the Markarian chain. And I've chosen these 10 just as a smaller subset to work with. And as we can see, the first 5 end in R, so these will be BGGR files, and the last 5 don't, so they'll be RGGB. If we open up one from each set, just to prove that, let's just put these side by side. Let's stretch each one using Control A. Right, these are raw FITS files, straight out the camera. I've not run any sort of calibration against a master dark. I've not removed any hot pixels using cosmetic correction or anything like that. So it's just straight out the camera. And it's good enough for this test because if we look at this first one, the one that ends in R, we believe this should be BGGR. And we can prove it by doing File, FITS header. The Bayer pattern is BGGR. And we'll do the same with this one. It doesn't end in R, so we think it's RGGB. File, FITS header, RGGB. That's great. Let's close those down. So if we go back into that folder, let's take those first two and copy those into this demo folder, just so we've got a smaller subset to work with. Let's take that first one, RGGB, this one that ends in R. This will be a BGGR. Let's rename that, just for the sake of this demo, to BGGR. Oops, BGGR. And let's rename the second one to RGGB. Okay. Now, if we were to attempt to de-Bayer these using, say, RGGB, so let's add those two files in. Open, and let's do them as RGGB. So it'll work for one but not the other. But let's just prove it because it gives us something to the problem that we recreated that we can work with. So let's apply that. It'll only take a second because there's only a couple of files. That's done. Let's open up those two de-Bayered files and have a look, see what we've got. That one and that one. If we take the RGGB one first, let's stretch that using Control A and let's zoom into that particular star. And this is fine. It's not the best image in the world, but you can see there's a bit of blue fringing around that star and we've got a salmony reddish colored galaxy. That's fine because this is an RGGB image processed as RGGB, and that's fine. However, we look at the other image, let's stretch that, zoom into that star, and think, whoa, straight away it's wrong. And the reason being is this is a BGGR FITS file that we process as RGGB, so the colors are completely opposite. We've got red fringing around the star, and the galaxy's now turned blue. Okay, so that's that. So what can we do to fix it? If we, just for the sake of this bit of theory now, if we imagine our camera had a pixel array of 10 by 10 pixels, 10 across, 10 going down, and let's say it's BGGR. So we can see it's a repeating pattern of 4 pixels, blue, green, green, red, blue, green, green, red, all the way across and all the way down. So that's BGGR. So how could we convert this to RGGB? Well, it has been suggested you could just rotate it. And that, true, would convert that file into an RGGB. However, it would turn the image upside down. Now, I've found that sometimes when I'm star aligning, sometimes the star align process can handle images that aren't, exactly the same. If one's upside down, it can handle it, but sometimes it can't. So let's just reverse this. How can we convert that BGGR image into RGGB without turning upside down? Well, what I'm going to propose to you is to try this. Going to process, all processors, dynamic crop. And if you just bring it in 1 pixel from the top, and then the same 1 pixel to the left, and crop that image, you've got a slightly smaller image. It's slightly cropped, but it's now effectively become RGGB. without turning it upside down. So that's the theory. Let's put it into practice. Let's try it on our two files to see if that works. So let's open the files. Let's delete these two debayed ones because that was the previous test that's done with. Let's open up the BGGR file. Let's Control-A to stretch it. Let's zoom right in till we get to some pixels. Yeah, these are all pixels. And let's go to say the top left. This should work on any corner, but I'm just choosing top left. Then if we're going to crop it, so you want processors, all processors, dynamic crop. Press this button to reset. And then just bring in the top pixel and just bring in that pixel there. So that's cropped. We've cropped off the first row and the first column, and that should convert BGGR into RGGB. Let's apply that. Let's keep this open. Let's rename this to be BGGR cropped just for this demo. Let's also save it to disk as BGGR cropped. Okay. Let's iconize that, get that out of the way. Now if we go back to the debayer process and let's do all three files this time, same as before, but now the cropped one. And as before, we'll process it as RGGB. Same folder, let's run that. It shouldn't take long. Just 3 files. Okay, that's finished. So let's open up those debayed files and see what we've got. There's 3 debayed files. Let's take the RGGB one, debayed as RGB. So this is correct. Control-A to stretch. Let's zoom in on a particular star. And we can see this star here. It's fine. It's not the best image in the world, but it's good enough for this demo. In that we've got a bit of blue fringing and we've got a bit of a reddish coloured, orangish coloured galaxy down here. Let's just drag that down here. So that's a good one. Let's take the BGGR image, which we know before was wrong, and it's still wrong. Let's prove it. Yeah, it's orange, and the galaxy's blue. That's not what we want. So that's just a repeat of the previous test. Let's have that down here so we can see that. Now this is the real test. This is the BGGR image, FITS file, that we cropped down 1 pixel top and left, which we think has made it into RGGB. We then debay this as RGGB. Now if this star here, when I stretch it and zoom in, if it's blue, it's worked. If it's red, it hasn't. So let's stretch it and zoom in, and whoa, it's blue. So that seems to have worked. So cropping an image converts it from one to the other. So you might be thinking, hang on a minute, that's all very well. Let's go close that down. That's all very well, but you might be thinking, in our case, we've got 10 files, 5 of which we need to crop. But you might be thinking, I've got thousands of files I need to crop. I don't want to open up each one, crop it, save it back to disk. It's going to take too long. Yeah, we wouldn't do that. So I'm now going to show you a way of how to crop or perform a process on a batch of files in one go. So if you go back to your PixInsight workspace, then right-click Image Container. You might have something in there, so disable those first and delete them. Click on this icon here to add files. Add the files that you want to crop. Do those here. 5 here. Open. Now we need to apply this to a process. So if we go back to our cropped file, let's just drag this over here. If we look at the history, so you right click on the name, history here, you'll see there's the dynamic crop. Double click it, it'll open up that window. So in other words, that's the process that we applied at that point in time to crop this image. Now, and that's the process that we want to apply to these images here. Now, the way you do it is you apply the image container to the process and not the other way around. So you take this blue instance triangle, drag it onto the process. You see the tick. If you go too high, it goes across it. You can't do it there. The tick. Now, as soon as you release it, it's running that batch process to convert, to crop all these files. That's done. If we close that down, let's open up the files. And we can see we've got here the cropped files. Let's pick just one of them just to prove it's worked. If we now open that file, Control A to stretch it, and there we are. Now that should be RGGB. Now just as a reminder, if we go to the file fits header, it will still say BGGR, so that's wrong. So from certainly from PixInsight's process a viewpoint, if you get any sort of like debayering, you can't use auto because auto will look at the fits header Bayer pattern. So if you're processing this file, choose it as the one that you changed it to. So we cropped from BGGR to RGGB, so it would be RGGB. And just to prove it, as the final proof of the pudding, if we now debayer those files that we cropped in batch as RGGB, and bear in mind these were all BGGR files, so let's crop these, let's debayer these. Take a few seconds longer because it's 5 files this time, it should be fairly quick. Yeah, 5 succeeded. So then if we just close that down, let's open up, where did that debayer to? In here, right, so didn't change the folder name. So if we take the first one, and let's stretch that, and there we go. It's blue and the galaxy's red, so that's worked. So that's how you do it. So basically, in a nutshell, you just right-click your PI workspace, image container, add the files that you want, choose your dynamic crop, apply that instance to that dynamic crop, and off you go. Incidentally, this should work on most of the processors. It doesn't have to be dynamic crop, it could be other things as well. So this image container sort of concept is quite a useful one to have. Hope that helps. If there's any problems or any questions, then ping me. Thank you.